Our next speaker is Jeremiah Pietersen. He will give us the background to the formation of SPARC Africa, clarify the use of and discourse around the terminology associated with open access, and more. SPARC Africa was launched during the IFLA conference hosted by South Africa in August 2015. Over to you, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Vivian. So I'll be speaking briefly on what everyone else has spoken about. I hope through this presentation that I can demystify open and some of the discourses around open. As you can see, there are many terms that we use in open access, open science, open data, open education resources. Then we also have open education, open source software, open scholarship, and lastly, one of the new things that has started coming out, open publishing, especially open publishing in libraries. And then I'll speak a little bit about SPARC Africa. So one of the things that Danny Kingsley said about open access is that its basic premise is that research that is publicly funded should be made publicly available. And this is often the argument that we hear, that research foundations, national research foundations giving money for research, the research should eventually be made open to the public who have funded that research. This is the definition that is offered by SPARC US. Open access is the free, immediate online availability of research articles, coupled with the rights to use these articles fully in the digital environment. Open access ensures that anyone can access and use these results to turn ideas into industries and breakthroughs into better lives. As I said, research that is publicly funded should be made publicly available. And so we have two major streams in open access. That is the green open access, which is self-archiving. That is your institutional repositories. Then we have gold open access, which is the open access that we've mostly spoken about today. Open access through journals, journal articles. And then Reggie alluded to this in his presentation, diamond open access, a new stream that has emerged. And this is what's also referred to sometimes as platinum open access, and this is where the author doesn't pay. And then we come to open science. So open science generally refers to the process rather than the output. So as Ina was alluding in her presentation, open science is the encompassing term for conducting scientific research completely open from start to finish. And it speaks to the reproducibility of scientific research. It speaks about the content, methods, techniques, and data being well organized and openly available for readers to understand, reproduce, and reuse. And one of the examples that I'd like to illustrate is the Center for Open Science. They've developed, that's the website, and as you can see the logo, open, transparent, and reproducible science is stronger research. And they've produced a platform called the Open Science Framework, OSF. And the Open Science Framework is a scholarly commons to connect the entire research cycle. And what a platform like this does is, instead of replicating all the services that's out there already, it looks to integrate services. So services like GitHub, Figshare, Mendeley, for example, also, and Database. All these services are services that are open that aid the research process. Okay, next we look at open data. And according to SPARC, open data is research data that is freely available and accessible, allows download, analysis, reprocess, software analysis, or for use of any other purpose, and it's void of technical, legal, or financial barriers. Open data platforms are being constantly developed, and digital repositories and software development platforms often provide capabilities for for data storage, for open data. And an example of this is Figshare. And Figshare is there to store, share, and discover research. And I just want to draw your attention to the line at the bottom. Figshare wants to open up scientific data to the world. And that's one of the services that integrates with the Open Science Framework. And another service is GitHub. And GitHub isn't a data repository, it's a coding repository. And I just took a screenshot from the website. GitHub is a development platform inspired by the way you work. From open source to business, you can host and review code, manage projects, and build software alongside millions of other developers. And what GitHub tries to do is GitHub tries to draw a community together of developers, of coders, to share their codes. And I've put open source after this because open source is directly linked to what GitHub does. In the discourses around openness, it's surfacing that coding for data, for research data, should be made available alongside that data so that the data can be used more effectively. And so open source software has allowances for wide distribution and for adaptation to the source code for any use. And it's a good practice for building on open. If we think about open source has been a lot more prolific than the other open sectors because they've built communities of practice. And if we think about DSpace, for example, DSpace has been around for a long time and has been extensively developed by different people. And because the open source community has realized that not one sole developer can't develop an entire system and sustain an entire system by him or herself. So they've developed communities of practice in an open way, and this is an example for the open movement as a whole. And I'd like to also draw your attention to Open Knowledge Maps, and this is a platform. It's an open access research engine, and recently they've added BASE, which covers all academic disciplines. Previously they only covered PubMed. And they've made their code available on GitHub as well. And I've just done a search for digital scholarship. And on the left-hand side, you can see they visualize the research results, and on the right-hand side, they display the results. Now, this isn't perfect, it's still being developed, but I think this is just an example of how the open discourses is changing the way we look at scholarship. It's not only responding to our scholarly needs, but it's what advocates are doing in these domains. They're looking at new ways that we can engage with scholarship. So it's changing the direction of scholarship in some sense as well. And this is one of the projects that was highlighted at the OpenCon meeting, which is a meeting for young researchers and academics put together by SPARC US and the Right to Research Coalition. Okay, and then open educational resources. OERs refer to learning materials available to students, educators, and those doing self-directed learning licensed with an open license to allow reuse, customization, and sharing. And so when we look at, this is particularly sticky because aside from open education resources, we also have open education. And open education is a more encompassing term that includes OERs, but also includes tools and practices. And one of the new things that's come up that Reggie's also spoken about is open textbooks. And open education makes provision for open textbooks. And also according to SPARC, education has not reached a point where it can exploit the technologies available in the digital space, leading to what they refer to as legacy publishing models, contributing to the unaffordability of education, like the rising costs of textbooks. And so most of what I'm saying is very debatable, especially this part. So open scholarship, depending on who you read, can be an encompassing term for the product rather than the process. So open data being a product, open access being your published journals, journal articles, and open education or open educational resources. But in Reggie's paper in 2015, which he authored with a few other authors, he defines open scholarship, and I saw this in Robert's presentation as well, as open source software, open access, and open education resources. And in a meeting, I think last week or the week before, we had a big debate about whether open source software actually still forms part of open scholarship. But then on the other hand, you can also look at open scholarship as a synonym for open science. And so when it comes to these terms where there's so many different uses, I tend to go with what my supervisor always advises me. You choose a term, you become comfortable with why you want to use it, and you stick to it. And I think we need to do the same thing in the open environment, especially with terms such as these. And synonyms for open scholarship as an encompassing term is openness, as well as the open agenda. And then lastly, with regard to the open discourse, I'd like to touch on open publishing. And so the author Bailey in 2007 stated that OA has not been designed with libraries at its foundation, but the library still has, as an information disseminator, the libraries has the capabilities and the skills to enhance access to users. So why not have it lie within the libraries? And so one of the projects, the Public Knowledge Project, Ina also alluded to this, PKP. They've been instrumental in developing open publishing platforms that are usable by libraries. And they've created systems like the Open Journal systems and the Open Monograph Press, and this leads the way forward for Diamond Open Access, where neither the user or the author pays. So I'll just briefly talk about SPARC Africa. So I realized that no one has actually said what SPARC is. SPARC is the Scholarly Publishing and Academic Resources Coalition. SPARC Africa is the chapter of the main board, which is SPARC US. SPARC Africa was really, the conversation started in Liasa. And then Reggie Raju took forward that conversation in consultation and support by Liasa, the Library and Information Association of South Africa. And there were many debates about the potential launch of SPARC Africa. And with some guidance from SPARC US and SPARC Europe, a constitution was drawn up based on these discussions. So I'm just going to go through some of the objectives in the constitution. And so the constitution is guided by the following objectives: supporting and promoting the aims and objectives of open access, advising, working with, and encouraging research funding agencies to adopt policies that advance open access, gaining active support by academic and research institutions for open access through allocation of funds to support open access, encouragement of national governments and agencies to adapt and adopt policies that support open access to scholarly literature, and development of favorable institutional intellectual property policies and practices. And then enhancing the visibility of research output of academic and research institutions in the country, providing a network of support for libraries and librarians for development of training programs to address open access activities, for example, the creation and management of repositories, creation of common hosting platforms, adoption of open source software, and the development of a support base for the optimal utilization of such software, and promotion of the exchange of ideas and experience among members, and lastly, cooperating with international groups and organizations such as SPARC in the advancement of open access. Now, As opposed to SPARC US, the SPARC Africa is focused more on development on the African continent, where SPARC US focuses more on advocacy. And so in late 2015, Reggie put together a team of local and international organizers for the inaugural SPARC Africa conference, the Open Access Symposium in 2016. And this was well attended by local and African delegation in the midst of all the protest action that took place just months before. And we had prolific speakers like Judge Albie Sachs, and that's Heather Joseph in the center with Reggie, as well as Professor Bernard Rentier, who we heard earlier. And we also ended off with a panel of our African delegates discussing what had happened during the conference. And this is the full delegation, the full African delegation. And so the way forward. So the symposium culminated in the formation of a steering committee. And the steering committee has already met once, and their focus is the first meeting was a strategic plan, and they're working on the strategic plan and targeting especially principals and directors of institutions. And then if you want any more details, you're welcome to contact either myself or Lena Nyawotsa. Thank you.